Hi everyone, I'm Roger Palomino with Houston Media Source. We're here at the Manil in Montrose in the heart of the city of Houston. We're here to celebrate the 19th Annual QFEST, which is an LGBTQ International Film Festival highlighting some diverse films from all over the world. We have some very important interviews in store for you today. First up with director Justin Kelly, director of I Am Michael and recipient of QFEST inaugural Freedom of Vision Award. Immediately afterward is director from Venezuela, Fina Torres, who will discuss her film Liz in September and also recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award by QFEST and Señorita Cinema. We also have two very important Q&As, one for the documentary Tab Hunter Confidential and the other for the film Tangerine. Of course, no QFEST could be complete without some organizers that bring this to us every year. So now I'd like to present to you director Justin Kelly. Hi everyone, I'm here at QFEST 2015 with the director of I Am Michael, Justin Kelly. Justin, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. And I just wanted to say congratulations for the QFEST inaugural Freedom of Vision Award. And you're welcome. And I just wanted to know, in your own words, what could you tell us about I Am Michael?
I Am Michael, it's based on the incredible true story about Michael Glatz, and he was a gay rights activist and editor at XY Magazine who had a massive change of heart, change of faith, and ended up becoming an anti-gay Christian pastor. So it's a very controversial, difficult story, but one that's important to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you that don't know about the inaugural Freedom of Vision Award, it goes to the film that expresses highly controversial subjects with restraint, fairness, and compassion. You know, and those are very important things because I've heard in other interviews you speak about the film and just talking about more so about starting a conversation about a person's journey. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. The goal from day one was to take a very non-judgmental and fair approach to someone's story who would be easy to vilify. A lot of gay people were involved in making the film, and I'm a gay director, so we would want to support someone who wants to try and prove that gays can become straight. But the sort of easy version would have been the one that sets out to vilify him, and we wanted the one that really treated the real Michael and his journey with respect in the same way that we want to be treated with respect.
Yeah, and I've heard in an interview Michael express also that this was a healing process for him in itself, just watching the film and just being part of it. What for you has changed at the end of the film that was different from the beginning?
For me or for Michael? I mean, nothing concrete or specific, I didn't become straight, but just kidding. No, I mean, I have a greater understanding for, maybe greater understanding for people like him. If there's someone out there who is speaking out against the gay community, it made me realize how good it is to try and understand where they're coming from first. And maybe even after doing that, maybe those people still won't be likable and won't be good people, but maybe sometimes they'll have a story that when you talk about helps people understand, in a way that's a bit more respectful and conversation inciting.
Yeah, absolutely, because I really like what you said in an interview as far as like starting a conversation about religion, because many times it also puts people pretty much in, I guess you could say like a box or a label. What other themes do you feel the movie also expresses in addition to that?
It touches a lot on identity, about what it means to identify as anything, gay, straight, Christian, Buddhist, anything, and how those labels, even though they are helpful in that it builds community and recognition and progress for any group, especially a minority group, but then it also kind of makes you feel like you have to follow a set of guidelines. And, even though a lot of what the real Michael said really pissed me off, I would still stumble across some occasional things that were the reasons that made me feel like I could tell his story in a balanced way. Little things like when he would make a negative comment on, if in his kind of straight community, if someone kind of begin to explore with, homosexuality. It's not like the end of the world. But within gay culture, especially gay male culture, if like one of gay men starts kind of like dating women, it's sort of like they're kind of shunned. And not that that's true every time, but I've seen that a lot. It's sort of like we want to like welcome anyone into the group, but if you like stray, or same with how so many gay men are like very anti-bisexuality or don't believe in it. So it's like little things he would say that even though I don't fully agree, it was kind of enlightening to think, oh wow, we do really have these guidelines that we feel the need to follow because we identify as gay. But that conversation covers so much more than just sexuality.
Yeah, absolutely. It covers a wide spectrum of different topics. And I know also Zachary Quinto had mentioned in an interview that you have a very collaborative nature. And you work with brilliant actors in addition to James Franco and Emma Roberts, just to name a few. What is it that sets you apart from other directors?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's that yeah, I've heard plenty of stories about directors who maybe are known for a specific thing or liked or disliked for a kind of method. And so I don't exactly know since I'm too close to myself to be objective. But yeah, I really like to, I come from, I've always wanted to direct, but while I was developing, I was editing for other people. And so you get a lot of like, like a lot of storytelling background, and you really see how scripts can change and how most every single one does. And so it's really like I think as a director, I'm less precious with the material in a way that some people that I've seen some people are not. Meaning, if Zachary wants to, if he feels like a certain scene just like isn't quite where his character is at because of other scenes that we've shot, then I'm not gonna say like no, like we have to do it this way or that way. We like sit down and like rewrite it together, and I couldn't imagine any other way because all the kind of unwritten, unplanned moments are usually the most memorable.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Justin, for taking the time of, talking about your film today with us, and congratulations again on the award.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks.
It's a galaxy. Actually, it's a spiral. It's the only symbol that means anything. It's infinite. No beginning, no end.
There's a beginning and there's an...
All right, well, there's a more complicated one that has no beginning, no end, but I can't do it on my pancakes, okay?
And I'm here at QFEST 2015 with a great director. I am with Fina Torres, who is from Venezuela, for her film that is titled Liz in Septiembre. Thank you for being here with me.
No, thank you, Palomino. Thank you so much for interviewing me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I saw some very great actresses in your film. And could you tell us in your own words what your film is about?
My film is a story, I think it's a universal story, but it happens to a group of lesbian friends. So that's quite interesting because you can say, well, it's a gay movie because the characters are gay, but at the same time, it's a very universal movie because what they go through is common to every human being in the world.
Absolutely, and just seeing some of the footage, it looks amazing in Venezuela. Could you tell us what parts of Venezuela that you filmed in?
Yes, well, in the story, in the film, it happens in one place, but I shot in two different beaches. I shot in the west coast. It's called Morrocoy. It's a beautiful, beautiful white sand beach with palms, and what is the Posada, I shot it in the central coast. That is called Toda Sana y La Sabana.
Oh, great, wonderful, and congratulations on the Lifetime Achievement Award here from QFEST. Yeah, it's quite an honor, and I saw that you started in 1985 with your short films. How was that transition like, going from starting in 1985 up until now?
No, I started even earlier because I made my first long feature film in 1984, Oriana, that won the Golden Camera in Cannes, and but before I had made like a documentary and a short, and after that I made I made how many films? Oriana, Celestial Clockwork, Woman on Top, Havana Eva, and now Listen September. And I made a Mexican movie for TV called Esperanza.
Esperanza, very good. You know, now with independent film, Latin America is actually in the forefront with a lot of films. What do you think makes Latin America very unique and interesting to a lot of people?
Well, I think the first thing is that it's new because aside Mexico and Argentina, who has a long tradition of cinema, all the other countries are quite new in these disciplines. And I think that in Latin America we have so many original stories to tell. Everything is like to tell. Everything is very, very young and very original. So we have many stories to tell that are original, new, different, very linked to our roots, to our culture, to our countries. I don't know. In all my life, I think I have 35 years in this business, and always I had to. When they propose me a movie, it has to have a link with Latin America. If not, I cannot do it. So all my movies, even Woman on Top, that was a Fox Searchlight movie, I did it because it was linked to Brazil. Right. Because if not, I don't know where to put the camera. I have to be really like, something has to move me deeply so I can do the movie.
That's great. And on that topic of moving people deeply with independent film, how do you feel these film festivals are relevant today in a world of internet, social media, and people finding film on Amazon Prime, for example?
Well, it's complicated because for me to see a movie, to see a film in a theater is sacred. It's like a mass. It's like something religious. It's like you share with a lot of people something that you're looking at on the big screen with this incredible sound. So that's an experience that is unique. But modernity, has that now we have to stream the movies, and there's a lot of movies that gives a lot of opportunity to a lot of movie makers to have their film shown and be seen by a lot of public. But I still think that it's a privilege to have the chance, the opportunity to screen a movie in a big screen with a lot of audience. People you don't know, because it creates an energy. It's something very particular. I always say it's like a mass. When you go to mass, if you're Catholic or whatever, and you go to some place where there's many people and there's something going on and you can feel this energy moving on, well, I think it's the same for a movie and in theater, but I hope we don't lose that, ever.
That's very true because you feel the emotions, and actually emotions carry over any language barriers that exist. So what is your next film going to be?
I have 4 projects, 3 in Venezuela and 1 in Los Angeles. The one in Los Angeles, of course, is linked to Latin American culture in a way, but it's in English. And the other 3 are Venezuelans and are in Spanish in Venezuela.
That's great. Well, we were just talking to Fina Torres. Thank you very much, Fina.
Thank you, Palomino. Thank you so much. What a privilege. Thank you.
Yo no sé si yo nací así o me volví así, pero cuando me botaron de mi casa a los 16, me salió una especie de diablo suelto que nunca me ha dejado.
Si lo peor ya pasó.
You mentioned one of the lines in the movie that struck me. You said you're happy to be forgotten. Having said that up there, what is it like for you now, traveling around, seeing all these people who still love you and adore you so much and dealing with all of that?
It isn't a question of being loved and adored. It's a question of, I think Alan has produced a really interesting film about a journey. And we're all on a journey. This happens to be my journey. Things in the book we didn't have the time to put up on the screen because you only have 93 minutes or whatever it is. But you know, you're able to get. Yeah, I'm sorry we couldn't get Tennessee Williams and Tallulah Bank in. She was pretty colorful.
So tell us one of those stories that didn't make it in here that you wish would have been in the movie.
Well, I do have a Tallulah story. Well, I've got quite a few. But one day, the first day an actor is on stage without the script is really difficult. And you know, Tennessee Williams is brilliant. And I'm trying to get through this long monologue, and she's going blah, 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 and interrupting and interrupting and interrupting. And I literally said, "Why the don't you shut up?" So she went, "Well, you are the rudest person I've met since Marlon Brando." I said, "Well, thank you for putting me in such good company."
What for you, when you were doing all these interviews for the movie, what was the most difficult part for you to talk about? Because you get very candid with a lot of different subjects here.
Talking about my mother and my brother were very difficult. Because my brother opened up doors for me. He was an incredible man. And talking about my mother, who was just, I mean, what an incredible woman she was. She could take and meet any one of you and just lift you right up mentally. She was wonderful. And people need that because everything is not positive today. It's too negative. And I think this has a positive note that I'm really pleased about. And I owe that to you, Alan, because you worked so hard on putting this together.
But I also have to give credit. We had a wonderful director, editor, Jeffrey Schwartz, who did Vito, I Am Divine. He's done a lot of wonderful documentaries, and my collaboration with him made this movie as good as I thought it could be. But I also want to point out that you're watching something that took over 6 years to produce. This wasn't something that we raised the money and shot in 3 months. You know, when you're raising money independently, it just comes in bits and pieces. So we would get so much here that we'd run out and do 3 or 4 interviews, and then we'd have to sit and wait until I could find more money, until we finally got the whole thing done. So you see Tab, like, age 6 years before your eyes.
But you know, it's not like in the old days when they made a movie, they say you go to work on Thursday, you go to work, and it's all finance. You know, no, this is bits and pieces, but it's a labor of love, and it's a story that I felt I really had to tell. I don't like having to talk about those things because it's not my comfort zone, but it's an important thing. Because so often people categorize you and put you, they label you, oh, she's like this, oh, he's like that. And the first line of my book was, I hate labels. Because people always want to label people. And they don't think about the fact that we're all human beings. That's number one. And right after that is, yes, but what kind of a human being are you? That's next.
Now, I know you guys have been playing and visiting festivals all over the country, but there are more plans, bigger plans for this movie moving forward, right?
That's right. We've been picked up to be released theatrically in October, so we're going to be around the country. Cities, and Turner Classic Movies wants this as well to play, so I think it'll be very eye-opening for a lot of people to see this.
And I think it should be on the Oscar ballot, right?
Sean, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Oh, there you are. There we go. So, round of applause, another round of applause for Sean Baker.
Thank you. Well, thank you for coming out and seeing it tonight. We really appreciate it.
Great. I think Chris may join us here in a second, the producer. So
he's a co-screenwriter.
Co-screenwriter, okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll join in here in a minute. I sent him the same thing, so thank you for joining us. So we just enjoyed Tangerine, and you're just coming back from Bogota, is that correct?
Yes, we had our Latin American premiere there, and went quite well. Sold out screenings, and it was very interesting. Members of the trans community there in Bogota came out for the premiere, and they got to speak afterwards, and we had a great discussion after. and they were very happy with the film. It was a great experience. They talked about how there were, of course, cultural differences in the details, but overall, two of the women said they really connected with Alexandra and Cindy, and they really saw many. They connected with them on many levels.
Well, absolutely. It's what I love about the film is even though it's about a particular community, it's a very universal film. I think a lot of people can relate to the characters in there about the situations.
Hopefully. I mean, that was, when Chris and I, we really went into this world not, we're cisgender white males, and we didn't want to go in there imposing any sort of script or plot. We wanted to find a collaborator, and we knew that even when, no matter what plot we were eventually going to settle on, we wanted it to really be to have some universal themes. And we were gonna, before we were gonna move forward with writing any sort of script, we were gonna say, what are the themes here? And it was really after meeting Maya and Kiki and knowing that the two of them were going to play the leads of the film, and witnessing and observing their friendship on a daily basis, that we knew that friendship was going to be one of those themes.
And so you, when you met them, because that is the neighborhood you live in, correct?
I live about half a mile to the west, and so it's a slightly different neighborhood. I live in West Hollywood, and that's basically the border of West Hollywood and Hollywood. So.
And so I remember you saying that you have driven by there a number of times, and you were curious about the people there, and so you started exploring it.
It's hard to not notice that corner. There's always something going down, and it's also just known. I mean, if you know LA history, it's it's an infamous sort of unofficial red light district that goes back for decades. Mm-hmm. It's sort of at the tail end right now, actually. It's sort of being gentrified to a certain degree.
Gotcha. Well, next time in LA, I'm going to Donut Time just because.
Yes, please do. Please support them. They were very generous to us.
So, if you could tell us, because we are here in Houston, now one of the leads is from Houston, Maya Taylor?
Yes, she is. Yes, I wish she was there in town. She actually, I wish she was there in town to actually be there present at your Q&A, but she's actually in North Dakota right now, with her boyfriend. So she's spending time up there for the summer. There was something that was actually quite, we know that there is discrimination that trans women of color especially have to face on a daily basis. But I witnessed it firsthand because in post-production of the film, there was about a year before we went to Sundance. So there was a year in which Maya and Kiki were looking for jobs and to occupy their time before we premiered and have money and an income. And Maya she applied for over, according to her, about 160 jobs, I believe, and never got anywhere. And I witnessed one that was a real runaround where they made her get she had a license, but they made her get she knows cars and automobiles like nobody's business. I mean, really incredible in and out. And so she's definitely somebody who could work at any car dealership or garage, and there are plenty of those jobs out here. But she would apply, and one that I was helping her out with said, okay, no, you need to have a California license. We went through the whole process of getting her a California license. And then when she finally did, she went back, and of course they said, oh, I'm sorry, we filled the position. That night, Maya went home and checked on Craigslist, and they had not filled the position. So, eventually she just had to move back to Houston for a little while, because the opportunities were just not here for her because of flat out discrimination. And then, but since the movie has come out, she has a manager, and she's already been in a short film, a follow-up about Marsha P. Johnson, trans activist, famous trans activist who started the Stonewall riots. So the buzz around her is great right now, and she is trying to get back to LA so that she can pursue, her dreams.
Of acting. Yes, Sean? That's what she wants to do.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What?
She wants to be an actor, primarily.
Oh, yes, she most definitely does. Yes.
Yeah, so, well, it's a little bit more quiet on my end, so yeah, anything that he didn't cover, he probably talked about everything, right?
A little bit. I mean, yeah, he told us, if I can ask a little bit more, I want to delve a little bit into the how the story came about. So he mentioned it a little bit, but you were with them when the story came about, and tell us a little bit more about that.
We I don't want to be redundant, but we were just finishing Starlet, and we were hired to write more of a mainstream action type film that was out of our wheelhouse, and everybody liked the script, but things take forever to get going, as you may know. And Sean and I just got tired of waiting, and we kind of went and hit the streets. Donut Time seemed like a really great backdrop. We pass it every day. If any of you have been to LA, I'm sure maybe you might have passed it, and there's always some sort of shady goings-ons going outside of Donut Time. So we wanted to explore it and sort of find a story. We didn't really want to impose a story on anyone. We're always looking for collaborators, and we were very fortunate. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we went to the LGBT Center right around the corner, like maybe an hour later, and Maya Taylor wasn't there. What would have happened? Meeting her was very fortunate, and she was fantastic. She greeted us with open arms, and we just started meeting her regularly. And then she introduced us to Kiki Katana Rodriguez, who plays Cinderella. And yeah, there was such a contrast, between the two of them.
And so they gave you, came on board to help you write it, but they gave you a couple of guidelines or something that they wanted you to make it? Or?
Yeah, not necessarily to help us write it. We were just we always like to collect stories, and then we go home and we sort of mash them up, and like I'll never forget the day Sean always wanted to do a car wash scene. And when Mike told us, that maybe that's a place where some of the Johns are taken for privacy, rather than wasting their money on a motel or something, and Sean's eyes lit up. And he's like, yes, I can finally do my car wash scene. So it's stuff like that where we go home and we don't sleep. We just stay up all night on final draft trying to, put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Gotcha. Now, they said that they want you, when they're collaborating with you, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but they said they want two things. They want it to be real about who they are and their community, and then they want it to be funny.
Yeah, and oh wait, may I interrupt, because we have a surprise cameo from Mr. Josh Sussman. You may have seen him on Glee, or Wizards of Waverly Place, and or just now he threw up all over me. Here we are together again. No throw. Yeah, all over me. That was real vomit. I ate a lot of pancakes, and he took it like a champ. I just wanted to say hello. I'm heading out, but thanks for watching the movie.
Thank you so much. Great.
Don't drink too much. That was a tall order from Maya, because we didn't want to, we weren't necessarily approaching the material like this was going to be a comedy. And when she said that, I'll never forget it. Sean probably just told you guys that it's, sort of a fine line to walk. We didn't want to be exploitive or anything. So we all wanted to collaborate and make a movie that we can all be proud of.
I'm here at the 19th Annual QFEST here in Houston, Texas with Stephanie St. Sanchez. She is the festival administrator, also the founder of La Chicana Laundry Pictures, and has made over 25 award genre-bending shorts, and also the recipient of SWAMP, Southwest Alternate Media Project's Emerging Filmmakers Award. Congratulations.
Thank you. That was very exciting when that happened.
Yeah, so tell us about your very first experience with QFEST.
My very first experience with QFest, it was sad. It was, well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. My first experience with QFest was that I'm a big fan of a guilty pleasure of a cult classic film. And Boom. There's a film called Boom, which is based on Tennessee Williams' play The Milk Train Doesn't Stop Here Anymore. And it's just awful, awesome. And I couldn't believe it was being screened. And there it was, and it was all thanks to QFest. And so year after year, just the programs were attracting me. And then I got tapped on the shoulder by a handsome stranger named Christian Solis. And then, so Salinas, I meant to say, you can edit that out.
It stays forever.
Right, yeah. And I was invited to participate, and then I was on the board, and I've been with the organization ever since.
Awesome. So as being part of QFest, what are some of the similarities you see in films each time you do this?
Well, I think that sort of the similarities in films is there's always it's always sort of like an international thing where there's, I mean, you're going to have your coming out stories, you're going to have your guilty pleasures once again, which is usually my favorites. So really, I mean, it's something kind of different every time.
Yeah, and also I've noticed with a lot of film festivals, bumpers, original bumpers. Now, with a bumper for this QFest, are you going to have different ones every year, or are you just going to use them for like a certain number of years?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have favorite bumpers that we've made, and we try to produce a new one every year. So it's just sort of like what's in the air and what's at our disposal and what's exciting at the time. So we like to drag some favorites out and then just show some new ones. So.
Okay. Now, what would you like to see for the next QFest?
I don't want to, just like jump into it, but I mean, it was really, really amazing to have some guest stars, some guest directors and presenters and filmmakers, and I love to see more of that. But there's one particular starlet performer, entertainer that's near and dear to my heart that I think it's time that she come to Houston. I'm talking to you, Pia Zadora.
Well, you heard it here from Stephanie St. Sanchez. Thank you very much, Stephanie.
Thank you.
And I'm here at the 19th Annual QFEST with the artistic director, Christian Salinas. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Roger. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? It's so bright in here. Yeah, it is. So I was reading your bio, and it's very interesting. You've been here since its initial beginning, 1996. You've also served as the executive director of TALA, Texas Accountants and Lawyers for the Arts, associate director of SWAMP, and you served on the festival's first advisory committee. As an RTF graduate of UT in Austin, you worked in the arts and entertainment industry exclusively. So tell us about your interest in this festival.
Well, back in 1996, I was all of 10 years old, so I began on the advisory committee, having come from UT with this background in film, and I worked at the museum as an intern. So I was asked to participate, and I said, absolutely. I love gay films. So that was how it all started for me. And then I've just remained involved because I love doing it. I think it's so much fun for me to be engaged in something I love, which is film, and to feel like, I can share that experience with people in a festival environment. I love it.
Absolutely. And one thing you said, too, in the final showing of Tangerine the last night, that you, to paraphrase, correct me if I'm wrong, you feel like showing films of this nature really would help a lot of the youth out there that are questioning their coming out process, or if, in fact, they should even come out. How important is it to continue to have these festivals when in today's world we have, like, Amazon Prime and Netflix and things of that nature?
Well, festivals are film festivals. I should be more specific. Film festivals are really the last bastion for audience engagement. You know, movie theaters are really becoming all about young people and just young people because the films aren't diverse enough. So festivals really are serving as the last holdout for the notion of having diversified audiences. And by that I mean audiences of all races, all age groups, and all economic groups. Like, these are films that are being shown specifically in an environment where a multitude of people can share that experience. And it's really important for that, because when you have an opportunity to share art with a variety, a diversity of people, you really have the opportunity for discussion and for opening people's minds. When you're just watching a movie on your little bitty phone, like, who are you sharing that with, and what exactly is the enjoyment of watching it on your phone? I don't really understand that, frankly. Like, I see people watching movies on their phone, and it's like eating a bag of chips. Like, you kind of forget that you're just consuming greasy food because it's just like, it's there. And I feel like that's the same thing with movies on phone. It's just there, but it's not an engagement. Festivals are about an engagement and being connected to other people, being connected to art, being connected to ideas. That's what the whole purpose of watching a film in an auditorium is about. And so I think that's really important to continue, because as going back to what I had said about youth coming out and having that opportunity, you're in a shared space, in particular with our festival, you're in a shared space in a safe space. So whether you're out of the closet or still in the closet, you're in a safe space, and you can share an experience with people knowing that you're not going to be attacked when you leave the theater.
Absolutely, that's very beautifully said. Now, this year you also had some very high-profile directors such as Justin Kelly and Fina Torres, just to name a few. How did you determine who you were going to have in this year's festival?
Well, we had determined pretty early on that Fina Torres was going to be our guest. We wanted to do a Lifetime Achievement Award. I had been wanting to do one for quite a while, and I felt it was really important to recognize a woman director, particularly because we don't see enough emphasis on the work of women directors. And I'm not saying that to be politically correct. It's just, this is an industry that is supposed to be embracing of all people. And I feel like this is, particular with her, this was someone who really had something to say, and the work was of such quality that it really needed to be highlighted and emphasized. And so when my colleague Stephanie St. Sanchez had suggested that we consider her because Fina actually had a new film, I said absolutely. I mean, it just made perfect sense. She has a new film that's really made an impact in her home country of Venezuela. It's really a very, I don't want to say aggressive, but a very confident film celebrating lesbian relationships. And that is a bold step in a country like Venezuela. So being able to bring that film and bringing some of our earlier work as well, I thought was really exciting, because it shows people, you know, her progression as an artist, how she started with her feature work and then graduated into this new piece that's really remarkable and very profound. So that was why we were able to get her. We just felt the timing was right. She was available. She was actually in the U.S. when our festival was taking place. And, you know, Justin and his team, he made the time to come to Houston because he really wanted to be a part of the exhibition here. He wanted to be a part of the Houston premiere. And I'm so glad that he came to Houston. I think anytime you have a director in attendance, it just gives you the opportunity to see a film from a different perspective, not from the celebrity perspective. Like, it'd been one thing if James Franco would have been here, but it's another when the director is here, because the directors tend to work on a film a lot longer than the actors do. They're in it from a much earlier phase, and so they have in my opinion, a much richer perspective, something that you can really learn from.
And I hope you enjoyed the 19th Annual QFEST with some of our guests, directors and producers who shared with us their experiences in filmmaking. I hope to catch you at the 20th Annual QFEST here in the city of Houston at the end of July 2016. Reporting for Houston Media Source, I'm Roger Palomino. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time.